Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. May I start by paying tribute to members of this House who have contributed to this debate this evening who have indeed served in Her Majesty's Armed Forces. I'm extremely grateful to every single one of you, and I extend out those thanks to every citizen of this nation who's given their service to Queen and country. Mr Deputy Speaker, I welcome this bill very much, and I particularly would like to commend the Secretary of State and the Minister very much for the hard work they've put in to make this happen. How pleased I am that this is a bill that is unifying across this House in support of our armed forces. Mr Deputy Speaker, as the member for West Dorset, it's important for me to note in this chamber tonight that 1 in 7 people in Dorset have a connection to the armed forces. The progress, therefore, with the Armed Forces Covenant is very important to me, and it's very important to the constituents in West Dorset, and I'm very grateful indeed to the Minister for the progress he is making in that area. Dorset not only has a considerable military presence, Mr Deputy Speaker, we have 6,500 serving members in the surrounding military bases, whether that's Blandford Camp, Bovington Camp, RNAS Yeovilton, or indeed the Royal Marines base in Poole. Dorset is particularly well served by the forces. But it's also, Mr Deputy Speaker, important to note that whilst West Dorset is the home to many serving and retired members of the armed forces, we play a very important role as well to those who are looking to progress their career in either the Army, the Navy, the Air Force or the Marines. And at Kingston Morwood College, on the outskirts of Dorchester, our county town, there are many students who are preparing for their career in the armed forces with military preparation diplomas. In Dorset County Hospital in the county town of Dorchester, we have 30 Royal Marines coming to support our doctors, nurses, our support staff, our porters and so on there to make sure we can really make progress in this coronavirus pandemic at this time. It's also very proud for me to be able to articulate briefly the very proud history that we have in Dorset, from the Dorsetshire Regiment dating all the way back to 1751, its successor regiments too, the Dorset and Devonshire Regiment, and indeed today the successor regiment is the Rifles, for which we celebrated its 14th anniversary of inauguration just a week or so ago. But Mr Deputy Speaker, it's important for me tonight, I think, to make very clear that this debate and this bill is about actions rather than words. For far too long, we have heard warm words rather than actions. I see it now. I even see it this last week where we've had a priest from the Church of England and the Diocese of London, the Reverend Gerald Robinson Brown, who has said that the celebration of Sir Tom Moore's life is an act of white cult nationalism. That's fundamentally shocking, and it should be called out, and each and every one of us in this place has a role to make sure that happens. And indeed, when we see actions such as Extinction Rebellion's Act on Armistice Day this year to put a protest on the cenotaph, it's absolutely shocking, and I hope I can call every single member of this House to ensure that those actions do speak indeed louder than words. Mr Deputy Speaker, to conclude, I feel it is my duty, it is the duty of all of us in this House to represent our constituents in supporting Her Majesty's Armed Forces. I, as indeed all of us, have sworn an oath of allegiance to Her Majesty the Queen alongside members of the Armed Forces, and it is with great pleasure and pride tonight that I support this bill.